Season 6, Episode 49, Billy Kyle Rebroadcast. Got that coming up next. Bill the Drone Reviewer here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The holiday season is in full swing, and because of the holiday season, we're going to be taking some time off. Tonight, we're featuring a rebroadcast of my episode with Billy Kyle. As always, every time having Billy on, he is just such an excellent source of drone knowledge. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip from Rotor Talk Live earlier this year with Billy Kyle in its entirety. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rotor Talk Live, Season 6, Episode 18. Very special guest, Billy Kyle Marcus, is with me here. Marcus, how are you this evening?
Not too bad, Bill. Not too bad. Yeah, happy to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, Ron and Billy are going to be joining us here in just a little bit. And, you know, everybody, I know Marcus is as excited as I am. I got a little bit of good news today. My ship date is moved up a day for the Mavic 3 Pro to May 8th. So, you know, and the reason that's important to me is because on the 17th, we're going to be heading up to Ohio, get to meet our second granddaughter for the first time. So, and plus there's a ham radio convention going on about an hour outside of where my kids live. So we're going to have some fun for a few days up there, but I'm excited because that'll be a day sooner I can get that, and I can get it up in the air because I'm real anxious to do that before I go on my trip. Probably going to take the Mini 3 with us. And I wanted to relay a story here, and I'm going to greet everybody after I do that. My son-in-law this weekend was flying with my granddaughter, okay? And it started raining, so he was trying to get back in the house and get her in the house and everything, and he was carrying the Femi in, and he held the door open for my granddaughter, and something slipped from his hand, and that was the Femi, and he broke 2 arms on the Femi, so he's in replacement mode right now. So that's what he was going to try to repair it, but by the time he would add up the parts and tools, be able to do that, it would pay for probably half a drone. So he's probably gonna go that route. So Andy, my hat's off to you, and we wish you the best of luck getting that resolved. Let's see who is all here. And I know we got a pretty full house. Jaybird's here, Flying Flynn, 107 Drones, Akarasho, Lauren is here, Art is here. Welcome, Art. Mr. B is here. Richard is here. Welcome, Richard. Let's see, 107 Drones. I'm pretty sure I got you drone shots. Leonard Oglesby. Let's see who else we got here. Drone Viking, Drone Views Media, and Lloyd, the Grumpy Vlogger. All right. Well, like I said, it's been a great week. I'm thoroughly excited about getting the Mavic 3 Pro, and I know you are too, Marcus.
Boy, howdy. I'm pretty excited for that drone. Bill and I were talking right just before the show, kind of reaffirming the Mavic 3 for both of us is the best drone that we've ever owned. And this Mavic 3 Pro just builds on that. So, I'm looking forward to it. I've been, I sold my Mavic 3 to DeMarco, and I'm starting to get the shakes, Bill. I've been too long without a Mavic 3. I need it.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of the same way because, my wife asked me, she says, well, why'd you sell it? And I said, well, first thing I'll say, it was the best drone I ever owned. And conversely, the Mavic 3 Pro is going to be the best drone I've ever owned. So, and I'm anxious to get it and, get it in time before we head up to Ohio to be able to get a couple of flights in before we go. Cause I'm not taking that with me to Ohio. Oh, and I did some investigating. I'm a big fan of Leicas cases, and I'm going to do some reviews on them because I think they make an exceptional case. And one of the things that they do, Marcus, that I really like is where their foam is, okay, the props and the ESCs, everything sits below the foam line, which I absolutely love, okay, because, you know, there's the eggshell on top, but it's not pressing down on it, which, you know, and I learned that a long time ago from our good friend Rick Smith, who, by the way, guess what? I heard from him this week. And you know why we haven't heard from him? He had knee replacement surgery.
Oh, goodness. Well, I wish him the best. How
yeah, he's just getting back on his feet, so to speak. And yeah, Rick, we wish you the best and hope you recover well from that. You know, but yeah, I'm going to be doing a series on my Leica's cases, because I got one for the Mini 3 Pro and I got one for the Mavic 3 Pro or Mavic 3. But I emailed them and I asked them, and he said they are going to be coming out with one for the Pro, simply because the size of that camera is different. It won't work in the Mavic 3 Classic, and the Mavic 3 will work in there, but not the Mavic 3 Pro.
So, Bill, to your point, I've been worried about that too. So this has been my Mavic case, and I was wondering the same thing. And I still got my my batteries and so forth in there. But to your point, right here is where that thing is going to fit. And I have a feeling that molded part right there, nah, it's not going to work with that new camera.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, and he said they're coming out with one in short order. So he said, stay tuned. But the thing about Leica's cases for me, Marcus, they don't go more than like $85 or $90 for their top tier cases. And then you look at some of those, I forget their Go, gosh, I forget the name of them, but you know, they run like 160, 170 bucks. And, you know, basically it's the same kind of case, but those prop line, you know, the props sit up above that foam. And I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big fan of that. One of the things that Leica's did that I really liked was, you know, the charging bar that you get that charges the 3 batteries for the Mavic 3.
Right.
Okay. It fits below the drone. There's a cutout for it below the drone, so it fits in there. In my Leica's case, I could take both the DJI RC Pro and the DJI and the controller that came with it. I could fit both of them in there. Plus, it had room for like almost up to 6 batteries in there. I mean, it was incredible, and I paid like $75 for it. I mean, it's just, and it's well built. I mean, it's as well built as those other cases that are on the market. So I'm going to be doing some videos on them because I'm really a big fan of them. I think they do a really good job.
Yeah. So similar to a GPC case, Bill, but
GPC. Yeah, that's it. That's who I was thinking of.
Yep.
Yeah. I was thinking a GPC. So,
yeah, it took me a second to think of it too.
yeah. I was like, who is it? It's GPC. Yeah. But no, and I think they do a great job, and he's going to be in touch with me. He'll drop me a link, and I'll let you guys know when that's going to hit. So, like I said, Billy's going to be here. I did confirm with him that he'll be on tonight, and I did send him a link for the show, so he should be on shortly, and so should Ron. You know, with all that being said, you know, one of the other things that, you know, some of the things we're going to talk about tonight, obviously I want to talk about the Mavic 3 Pro with Billy. Also want to ask him about the Inspire 3, because really like to get his take on things with the Inspire 3 and see what he thinks regarding that, because it's a different ball game than the Inspire 2. I mean, it really kind of ups the ante in terms of the camera and the capabilities with the drone itself, and just kind of see what his thoughts are about that. Yeah. You know, one of the other things, Marcus, that I wanted to talk about, and, you know, it's interesting because I saw there was some discussion. Was it some, and I just happened the other day to go to my Spark group, and, you know, people are asking about remote ID modules and if DJI is going to do anything, and the answer is no. But DJI responded back, and there was a good dialogue saying, you know, that there will be remote ID modules that will work with drones like the Spark, and then the original Mavic Air, because that's not going to be covered. The original Mavic Pro, I don't think that's going to be covered. So, you know, you're going to have to get that add-on module to be able to use those drones. Now, one that I haven't heard of, and they really haven't, DJI's kind of been quiet on, is the Phantom 4 Pro. whether or not they're going to have a remote ID module, or whether, you know, the software is going to work for that, or that you're going to have to buy a remote ID module. I haven't heard anything on that.
Yeah, you know, I was wondering, Bill, you brought up a good point. So if you're the average guy that's got a little Spark, and what you and I both know about the Spark is it's limited battery, so it's not going to fly very far. I mean, I suppose you could get it way up there, but I doubt very many people do. I'm just wondering how many people that still own that original Spark are going to even give a second thought to remote ID. I'll bet you not very many. I bet you they'll just fly their drone. I mean, I'm not saying that in any kind of a way to say that they should or shouldn't. I'm just thinking, I'll bet you that there's a lot of folks that have that kind of drone. They're just not going to worry about it.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people will do that, and you know, it's you know, it really kind of boggles the mind, you know, that here we are having to do all this, but yet, you know, and I know you guys had on Greg from Pilot Institute, and he's a great guy. I really liked him. Boy, that was one of the best shows you guys had this year, bar none. That he's very knowledgeable about all this. But it still sounds like, you know, not everything is solid on this, you know, and I'm saying probably more from an FAA type of aspect on things.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think maybe it would have been better for them to grandfather drones into it. In other words, older drones that, you know, like the Spark. You know, they should have just said, well, we're not going to worry about those, because quite frankly, there's going to be less and less of them flying over time. But I don't know. The rules are the rules. So yeah.
And we'll see what goes on with that. I know there's a lot of owners.
Lloyd is saying in the chat that he's not going to worry about it. And Lloyd, I got to say, I don't blame you.
Yeah, I really don't, as far as that's concerned. Oh, I know one thing that I wanted to let everybody know while we're waiting for Billy and Ron to join us. I got a DJI mic this week. Okay.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, and I am super excited about it. I also got a if you want to call it a mic wand, that the DJI mic will clip on. So, you know, when I'm going around, because what I'm going to, it's kind of like it's, for lack of a better term, it's kind of like a convention, but they have booths, and all the vendors are in the booths. And I'm going to go up and do, because I got a media pass, so I get to go in for free. It's like a $25 ticket. Got it for free. I'm going to go around and interview people. And somebody said, one of the other guys suggested, ham radio guys suggested, what about a DJI mic? And I said, you know what? It clicked like a light. I got it. I've got it charged up. I haven't tried it out yet, but I'm really looking forward to using that, because the audio is crisp, clear. And I know you, Marcus, your audio is just absolutely spot on.
It's one of the best pieces of equipment I have ever purchased. That's all I'll say about that. It's awesome.
Well, what really kind of was funny was I got it from Adorama, but they had it with a kit where they added 2 lavalier mics, and I didn't want to get the lavalier mics. And I'm like, wait a minute here. No, I don't want these. I said, time out. So I canceled the order, and then I reordered it again.
Yep. Hopefully that's good news.
Hello?
Well, Bill is on that. So anyway, I'll tell you is I went out with the Avata today, and had my very first flight with it, and it turned out to be just a little bit of a comedy of errors. I finally figured out what I was doing wrong, and I'm going to put together the video, because, as you guys know, I show everything warts and all when I go out on a flight. But let me just give you the kind of the long and the short of it. So I got the motion controller here, the motion controller 2, pretty cool. And I'm got to be honest with you, I was feeling pretty cocky. I'm feeling like, I'm not going to have a problem flying this guy. But so what I was trying to do to turn it, I used to play a game called Mech Warrior, and I used to use that joystick, the FT Aviator. Well, to yaw with that, you would twist. So I was used to that function instead of tilting. I had that drone spinning in circles before I figured out that no, I just need to tilt. But anyway, that's the long and the short of it. Bill's back and Ron has joined us. So Bill, it's your show.
Ron, how are you this evening?
Good, Bill. Sorry, I had internet connections. T-Mobile was down for a few minutes, but we got it back up again. I see I'm a little late to Bill, the FPV drone reviewer show.
Yes, Marcus was telling us about his adventure, so I'm really looking forward to that. Seeing how that went for you, Marcus.
It was an adventure is a good way to describe it, Bill.
And we're looking forward to that. That's going to be a good video.
Yeah.
So Ron, I just was letting Marcus know that my ship date moved up a day on the Mavic 3 Pro.
Oh, what did it move up to?
May 8th. It moved up from May 9th to May 8th.
And what day of the week is the 8th?
Let's see. Today's what?
That is Monday, Bill.
That would be Monday. That would be
Monday. Oh, wow.
Monday.
Wow.
Which is good for me because I was telling Marcus that, it would give me pretty much a full week of being able to test that out before I go, because we're heading up to Ohio the next week for vacation. So
Right.
give me a whole week to kind of play around with it and test it out and see how things are.
Good.
So I just want to let everybody know I emailed Billy again. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know where he's at. But I emailed him again. So
I'll text him for you.
Yeah, I was just going to go ahead, Ron. That's fine. But yeah, I'm real excited about that, and I'm glad it's going to finally be on its way. And one of the other things that I don't know if you guys saw this or not, was Autel is coming out with a new drone to compete with the Matrice. They had an announcement about it the other day. No pricing information, but it's official. There was some official literature that they posted out there, and I saw it on Drone XL, and I put it out on Bill the Drone Reviewer Facebook group and page. No pricing information availability yet, but it sounds like it's coming out soon. But it's directly going to compete with the Matrice, with the one M30.
So, Bill, that is a little bit of a concern for me in the sense that, our friend Ross Langdon in Australia, he got a hold of, I think, both Ron and I the other day, and one of his concerns is that Autel is really pointing their company in that enterprise direction.
We've been kind of setting that for a while now that they're basically reducing their consumer drones to kind of like very, very low prices, and there's no talk about a Nano +2 or Lite +2 or anything like that. And Bill, you and I have guessed that they've been leaning towards enterprise for a while now.
Yeah, and that you're exactly you hit the nail on the head with that, Ron. They're kind of like, and I'm going to combine this with what they said recently about within the past 6 months about end of life on some of the early Evos, and kind of accelerating that. So that's kind of disconcerting because, and I think that both of you would agree, being former, Parrot and Opie owners, that, if they had gone to a second generation of that, it would have been an even better drone. Even with its flaws, I know both of you guys really enjoy having it.
Former Parrot and Opie drone. I still got it sitting back there.
Well, Marcus, tell them the truth. You sold your Anafi. That's Anafi number 2.
That is, yeah.
That's not all the review videos.
But the point being, Ron, that I was so mad that I didn't have it anymore, and that's when Amazon was still selling a bunch of refurbs, and I got a refurb off of Amazon. And
hey, Bill, to the bigger picture here, do you think this is another case? Well, you brought up Parrot as a good conversation. where somebody like Autel decided to go toe to toe with DJI in the consumer space. They came out with a direct competitor to the Mini series. At that point, it was the Mini 2, but with the Autel Nano Plus series. And then they tried to go head to head with the Air 2S with the Light series of drones, the Light Plus specifically. And do you think the fact that they went head to head and they didn't come out too good, and they're getting out? Oh, here he is!
Whoa!
Can someone throw rotten eggs at me or tomatoes or whatever they usually do, and they get the thing to yank me off the stage or whatever?
Yeah, Billy, you're forgiven. We saw those beautiful photos you were getting out in the suburbs today.
I totally lost track of time. I'm actually out here still flying my drone.
From the Hyundai.
Mike.
Sound check.
There we are. We're good. Oh, look at that.
Okay.
Lets you choose all your devices even on the go. So what'd I miss?
Not much. We were just
about, Bill was talking about the new Autel Enterprise drone, how Autel seems to be moving towards the enterprise away from the consumer drone market. And I said, well, is another case, we were talking about Parrot 2, where somebody tried to go head to head with DJI's consumer drones, the Nano went head to head with the DJI's Mini drones, and the Light went head to head with the Air 2S series of drones with DJI, and I think they lost badly.
I know it's kind of a shame because you see a lot of these companies going towards the commercial route and not making consumer drones. I mean, look at Skydio too. Like, they've been coming out with a lot of new applications and a lot of new drones on their enterprise side, but there's nothing in terms of their consumer side. Like, the last drone we got from them was like 2019, you know?
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's just like anybody that takes a swing at DJI at the consumer drone level seems to go up and lose.
Yep.
And basically not lose, Billy, get knocked out.
Yeah, and it sucks because they see how much they're charging on the commercial side, like tens of thousands of dollars, and companies are paying it, and they find that to be more lucrative.
And you can't blame them. People got to stay in business and make money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Billy, is, first of all, have you had a chance to, have you had your hands on an Inspire 3 or been around one?
Just at NAB, I got to see it in person, and it's largely unchanged from the Inspire 2. But the Inspire 3, I think the biggest upgrade is like under the hood, with all the new sensors, the new transmission system. It's really just kind of bringing it to be more of like an up-to-date drone.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I saw too right away was, the form factor, everything. It really looks the same as the 2, but like you said, under the hood, it's really a completely different beast, and especially with that new camera system.
Can you believe that since Lightbridge 2, we've had OcuSync, OcuSync 1, OcuSync 2, OcuSync 3? Like, we're 4 generations ahead now.
Yeah. Well, even funny, Billy, remember we thought Lightbridge was the bomb back in the day?
Yeah. I mean, it's so funny because you always think, like, how can technology get any better? And then it does, right? Like, even now we're looking at OcuSync 3. We're like, how can it get any better? But we're going to look back on these days and just laugh.
Bill, I'm going to really age myself here, Billy, and Bill will relate to this, and Ron too, for that matter. But this is the truth. I remember way in the 90s when we had 56K modems, there were whole articles and people saying, you know what, we're never going to get faster than 56K. That's the limit. They can compress a little bit packets, but that'll be the end of it. And yeah.
And now we have Apple Watches.
Exactly.
Right.
So the Mavic 3 Pro, Billy. I mean, and I got to say this, I was getting one anyway, but then I saw your video, and I saw your video with the hyperlapse, and I'm like, okay, dude, you just sold another drone for DJI. Okay, because it was just phenomenal.
It's so funny because I'm out here getting some example hyperlapses for a video that I'm working on, and I would never fly from a spot like this. I'm way outside of the city, but with the 3X, like, you're able to perfectly punch in and see. I mean, I don't know if you guys would be able to.
Oh, yeah.
See,
Good.
It's kind of tough. I'm using the front-facing camera here, but that's like a view that you would normally never get with a drone. And I'm working on a video right now because it's interesting. It's like you look at all the different drones that have come out for the past however long, right? Whether it be back to the Mini 2 or the Mini 3 or the Mavic 2 or even the original Mavic Pro. And it's like you can kind of just continue to get the same shots over and over again with a slightly better camera, which everybody loves, don't get me wrong. But this is like the first drone that fundamentally changes that shooting experience, Like you now get a completely different view from a drone. And sure, you could have used digital, but I never wanted to use digital because
but you also don't get that compression either, right? Bringing the background in.
Yeah, it's like it completely changes the entire game. It's like the first drone that's really opened my mind to new opportunities.
Bill, you want to put that question up from KC? What was his name? KC Fighting or whatever. We'll read it for Billy. Give Billy the first question. KC Crime Fighter Reviews and Crime Fighting asked Billy, if you have a Mavic 3, should you get the Mavic 3 Pro or wait for the Air 3S? I used a drone to film crime scenes to generate tips in unsolved crimes.
I would just say stick with the Mavic 3 if you're doing something like that primarily. The Mavic 3 Pro wouldn't give too much of a benefit unless you wanted to stay up higher and zoom down in on that crime scene and take some photos.
That's what I was going to say. Depends on how far off he needs to stand off with the drone, right?
Yeah. Whenever they come out with an Air 3S, something that you have to realize is like that is DJI's mid-tier drone. And if they come out with an Air 3S, there will be parts about it that, yes, are better than the Mavic 3 because it's newer. But there's also going to be something that makes the Mavic 3 just ever so slightly better that a true professional would really appreciate, like in terms of the camera or something like that. Like they're never going to make an Air 3 better than a Mavic 3,
It might have a newer feature, but it, like you said, it won't
vertical.
Vertical probably.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things about that, and Billy, and I got to say this, I get more questions each week about, when is DJI going to come out with an Air 3 or an Air 3S? I mean, week in and week out on Twitter, you name it, my groups, everybody's asking me about that. And, and I told them, and they're kind of right because, and another thing, that just happens to be my fastest growing group besides my DJI Mini group, because people absolutely love that drone. One of the things is, DJI has filled in, and I look at things from an analytical perspective because that's pretty much what I do for a living. Mm-hmm. And they fill certain slots in terms of price points. Okay. Well, let's say, just take the Air 2S out of the equation. There's a big gap between, let's say, where an Air 2S is and you go up to a Mavic 3. I mean, there's a big gap right there. Yeah. And, that's a real sweet spot. Because right now, I looked out on DJI Store, a refurbished Air 2S Flymore combo is $799.
That is so cool. Yeah.
I mean, why
even the drone itself is like below $650, Bill?
Yeah, it's crazy awesome. I mean, and that's what I tell people. And it's one of those drones. It's the drone that I regret selling. Okay, the one that I regretted the most selling is that one.
It's the one I took to Florida with me. When I went to Florida, I took the Air 2S because it's compact and has all the features.
Well, so that's another thing too. Is like if they come out with an Air 3, that's a big, I think, I don't want to say improvement, but it's something that people might prefer over the Mavic 3 is that it is more portable, right? I mean, at the end of the day, these drones are all portable because they're foldable, but there is a pretty big difference between Air 3 and Mavic 3, even when you consider like battery size, right? Like the batteries are a lot smaller too. So your whole entire kit is a lot smaller. And also if you wanted to invest more into that platform, the batteries are always cheaper. Like the batteries for the Mavic 3 are twice as expensive as the Air,
Yeah.
That makes
and Billy, I agree with Bill. Almost every day I get a message from some of my subscribers, one place or other. When's the Air 3 coming out? A lot of people in the drone space, and I'm in the drone space. I mean, people that watch these live shows, people that are in the Facebook groups, they didn't really want a Mavic 3 Pro. They didn't necessarily need like the Mini 2SZ or the new goggles. They all wanted an Air 3. Or if they wanted a new camera, they didn't want an Action 3 or an Action 2. They wanted a Pocket 3. And DJI, are they leaving money on the table by not putting these devices out?
You're right. I mean, it's funny because I think that with the Pocket 2, I often wonder what they could do more with the Pocket 2 to make it favorable, to make somebody want to purchase it. I think that like
it's a pretty perfect device the way it is. You're right.
I know,
Yeah.
but what I think would be nice is like a little bit of a larger platform with a larger camera, right? Like something with like a 1-inch sensor or something that's larger, just to kind of maybe appease people that want a little bit more from that camera. But you're right about the Air, because like I know that there's something like psychological. It's like a psychological thing where if you have a lineup with 3 different options, Mini, Air, and the Pro in this case, a lot of people gravitate towards that intermediate option. If you look at Apple's lineup with their iPads, they have the iPad, then they have the iPad Air, and then they have the iPad Pro, right? And a lot of people end up gravitating towards the Air because they feel like they need a little bit more than what the lowest end option does, but they feel like, they don't want to spend all the money on the most expensive option. So there is a psychological thing there, and I think the Air plays a really important role in DJI's lineup. I just wonder what that could have, like what would they do to really make it any better than what it is now?
Yeah, that's the big question. Yeah.
So flight time.
Yeah, battery life.
Yeah.
But then like you nailed it earlier, Bill. Vertical video.
Yeah,
go.
vertical shooting would be really nice. And
Yeah.
I think another thing that would be nice is what is it called? Is if they keep it at the same relative price point, right? Like maybe push it up a little bit, but even from the get-go, offering that drone at $1,000 was a steal. And the fact that now it's still that expensive, but also is actually potentially cheaper if you go the refurbished or used route is just incredible.
Yeah, I think where the Air series sits is a lot of people start, Billy, with the mini series. A whole bunch of people with Mini 2s, right? And their upgrade path before recently was upgrade to an Air series, right? But now they have to upgrade to, say, a Mavic 3 Classic, and that's too much of a price leap for a lot of people that are flying like a Mini 2 type of drone. They need a step up. They can step up to the Air series, and then when they get over, that's not proficient enough for them, then they can take the next step. But that one step up from a Mini to a Mavic 3 Classic is a little bit too big for a lot of people.
I agree, and I think that's how maybe a lot of people might be feeling about Mavic to Inspire, which brings up the whole Phantom thing again.
That's a good point.
Now that the Inspire 3 is out, the Mavic 3 was, in my opinion, the better buy over the Inspire 2, unless you needed the specific niche features that it offered. But now there's just this huge gap in between Mavic 3 and Inspire 3, and I'd love to see what they could do with the Phantom, like being able to give us a similar camera as the Mavic 3, but beef it up because of the bigger size. Like say, okay, you guys wanted optical zoom, so if you want that true optical zoom on the Micro Four Thirds, well, now you're gonna have to buy the Phantom 5 that has the bigger camera on it. So there's so many ways they can go with any of these drones, really.
Billy, one thing that was kind of floored me a little bit, and I don't know if I can get your 2 cents worth on it, is I go out there after I was on Ron Marcus and I think Johnny was on, and when we talked about it after it released, I watched your video, I watched Ken's video, but then I go out there to try to find other videos, and I'm not seeing the usual players out there, so to speak. I know Kelly didn't get one, I know Rick Smith didn't get one, and several others. I mean, iJustine got one, but I'm like, okay, you know what? I don't get my drone news from iJustine. Okay.
Yeah.
She put a pretty good video out about her vacation to the Maldives. If you haven't seen it. Yeah,
it talked about that. I mean, I don't know where I'm trying to go with this is, but I think DJI is kind of pulling the reins back a little bit in terms of their expenses because. I'll go back to the when we met in Brooklyn, for the Mavic 2 release, that was the last time they did an in-person drone release, and they stopped that, because obviously, they're saving themselves a whole lot of money because as you well know, that was a first-class venue. I mean, they spared no expense that day. Okay. Yep. So I'm kind of thinking they're kind of pulling back a little bit in terms of who they're giving the drones to, which I kind of thought, it's just like, I don't understand. I try to figure out DJI. I think I haven't figured out, and then they go and do something I can't figure out.
What are you saying, Bill? I'll never stand a chance on getting a demo drone from DJI.
Well, if you start fixing yourself up like iJustine.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So here's what I think about it. I think that when Mavic 3 came out, they didn't sell a lot of them, apparently, right? I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that the Mavic 3 release they didn't sell a lot of them. I think that has to do with the state of the drone when it first came out. You know, GPS issues, this, that, whatever. It just maybe was a half-baked drone. Like
it was more the praise than anything else, Billy.
Exactly. So that's the thing too, right? It's a professional level drone. And I remember when they sent it to me, as well as other people, they sent everybody the Cine model of the drone, which really made it seem more expensive, right? Because you're looking at this drone, it's $5,000. People have the $5,000 version of the drone, and it kind of makes everybody think that it's more expensive than it is, right? So I think that they understood that. And this go around with the Mavic 3 Pro, when choosing who to send it to, they first of all sent it to creators that I think have an audience that would be more geared towards that. Like usually with my channel, I go from, you know, almost like the intermediate to the higher level stuff. Like I like to cover stuff from like Air all the way up to like the Matrice series of drones and stuff like that. And I'll still cover the Mini because I think that drone is great, but I don't push on that as much. Whereas I think that, you know, with Drone Valley and with Ready Set Drone, so, you know, Rick and Kelly, I think that both of them have an audience that caters more towards the beginner side of things personally. Like that's just how I view their channel. So I think that when they're choosing people to partner up with, I think that they look at, you know, like what their strengths are and then figure it out from there. So that's just
and Kelly is slid over to the FPV space a little bit too.
Yes, yeah. And also nobody got the Cine version of the Mavic 3 Pro except for I think Potato Jet. So I think that they realized I mean, look, Potato Jet makes videos on, you know, the like Arri cameras, you know, he makes videos on Red's cameras, so he has an audience that would,
he does. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, his audience can relate to something like that. You know what I mean? So I think that they kind of did a recheck in their mind and they were like, hey, you know, who when we partner up with them, like which drone would be best, you know?
Yeah. So in other words, I think what you're, and I get you now that you say it, it makes sense. You know, they're gearing it more specifically to those kind of content creators that, you know, especially, you know, who would follow you or say follow Ken, because, you know, they're real, you know, they're either, and you hit it real well, like from intermediate to advanced, because, you know, you look at your videos, you look at Ken's videos. I'm picking on Ken again, but hey, why not? It's always an easy thing to do. No, you know, you guys do the, and I call it the rock and roll tongue thing, because, and I'll never forget this. Okay, we're in Brooklyn, okay, and we're looking at the whole table of all the Mavic 2, you know, pros and zooms there, and you are so focused. I could have sworn I saw your tongue come out just a little bit because you were just so focused in your detail, and you know, and Ken's the same way. You know, he'll swear, God, no, I'm not built like Billy Kyle, you know, but no, you guys pay so much attention to detail. And I think that's the thing that people really kind of gravitate. That's why I first gravitated to your channel. You know, is that attention to detail that you have. And I think people know that and they recognize that. And the same with Ken. Okay. You know, and it makes a difference because when, you know, your review on the Mavic 3 Pro, I mean, there's no need to watch anybody else's. I mean, I watched Ken's, but I mean, you really covered it all. And then what kind of kicked me at the end, you're like with those hyperlapses, I'm not real happy with them. And I'm going like, you know, I'm talking to Ron and Marcus. I'm like, what? You're not happy with them? Like, oh my gosh, those are awesome.
Well, the compositions were awesome, but, you know, I think at the time I wasn't able to capture raw photographs when shooting hyperlapses. And sometimes like the 3X camera wasn't even taking photos to begin with. So working with that beta firmware was a little bit difficult. And even now, something I'm dealing with, there's a lot of drift when using the waypoints. Like the camera just likes to drift to the left and drift to the right. So it does make it a little bit challenging when, you know, trying to use the longer focal length. I'm hoping it's just like one of those initial bugs that maybe will get, you know, fixed over time. But you know, it's true for anything. It's like when you're using that longer focal length, it's more difficult to stabilize it, no matter if it's on a gimbal, if you're holding a camera or anything, you know. So there's always going to be a little bit more fake. But I think that, you know, the software and the hardware that they have built in mitigates that pretty well.
Yeah, it's just like, Billy, if you, even with a regular camera, if you have it zoomed out the, you know, 400 feet or something like that, even on a tripod, you still have to almost remote trigger it or you'll get a shake.
It's very sensitive. And you think about it, when you put the drone up, you're dealing with all this wind that you wouldn't deal with on the ground.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill. So you pointed out when on the recent SpaceX launch with the Starship that, hey, there was some drone shots there.
Yeah.
Do you think that was really a Tesla drone?
Oh no.
Let's just throw it out there. Second question. Have you decided Model X or Model Y?
I'm going with the Model Y. Yeah, so I'm in a nice old rental car right now. It's all like a beat up old Hyundai. But yeah, the Model Y is just like, it's smaller, it's sportier, it's like half the price, getting into pricing of it.
And almost the same functionality.
Yeah.
So close. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny, driving a gas car has made me miss driving an electric car.
Oh, yeah.
Like really.
Yeah.
But hey, a Tesla drone would be nice. Maybe
that's what I'm saying.
We've all got to tweet at Elon and make him release it.
Yeah, exactly. Get it out of the route.
So Billy, tell us, how's your business going? How you doing with that?
Good. It's primarily turned into a lot of like marketing style content for clients. So basically helping them try to build their social media presence and following through, I would say, professionally produced content, yes, but something that's better than they can do with their iPhone. Something that I've found is like, if you produce social media content for somebody that's almost like too good, like it looks like an advertisement, people click off. Like they'll swipe through and they like that genuine style content. And that's just something that I've found that works well for my clients. So doing a lot of photography and doing a lot of video. I wish I was doing more drone stuff, but a lot of it has just been like, doing photos for people inside of their office space and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping I can do some more stuff with the drone, because that side of things has been lacking a little bit.
Well, the weather will pick up soon in our area, so
yes,
get more opportunities to get out there. Hey, Billy, have you seen Eddie Nunes' latest video, the one he created in the Dominican Republic, where he talks about the Mavic 3 Pro?
Hold on one sec. I'm connecting back over to my
yeah, because you hit the key, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, you went to the car.
Yeah.
Let me see. Hold on. I think that I can. There we are.
Damn technology.
It's great, but it sucks at the same time, right?
Yeah.
I didn't watch his whole video, but I know I sent him some clips to use from the Mavic 3 Pro, and his shots from down there were amazing. I mean, just the colors.
They really were.
They were exploding off the screen.
But Eddie kind of did like a rant that many people have, that he's kind of a little upset with DJI for putting this Mavic 3 Pro out after he spent all the money, the $5,000, getting the Cine. And he kind of feels, what do you say, butt hurt over it. And he made a point at the end. He said he wished DJI would do like Apple does when they put out the iPhone, say 14. They don't release one model and then 6 months later come out with other. He said they show you their whole lineup at one point, and you choose the one you want, and there's never going to be another iPhone 14.
Yeah, look, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, personally, what I wish they did right off the bat was, first of all, make it modular, swap out the cameras, right? Being able to do stuff like that. Yeah. So how cool would it be if they came out with 3 different airframes right off the bat, a Cine airframe and a regular airframe, as well as like an enterprise airframe, right? And each of them had their benefits of like the SSD and things like that. And then you could choose your payload, right? And you could even buy multiple payloads. So like, let's say I'm somebody that wants just the classic camera and maybe the thermal camera. I could buy, both of those cameras and just put them onto my one airframe. I wish they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and that's one thing, and I heard, and I've seen some other people like Eddie too, who are saying, well, I just spent all this money on a Mavic 3 Cine, and then now they came out with a classic. Oh, okay, that's just a little below. That's okay. And then they come out with a Pro, and they're scratching your head. It's just like, and I'm going back to, let's go back to the Mavic 2, okay? Because when they came out, they did the Pro and the Zoom right away. I mean, it was either you get a Pro or a Zoom. And as I remember, the Zoom was just a little bit less than the Pro, and you distinctly knew what the features were right away. Okay. And one of the funniest things, and I got to share this from the event. Okay. Valerie's sitting next to me, and she's looking because she knows she's watching Billy she's watching Rick, she's watching Ken, and everybody's face, instead of looking at the presenter, they're all down. And she said, "What are they doing?" I said, "They're ordering their drones right now."
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was just like, all the heads are down. She says, aren't they looking at the speaker? I said, they're ordering their drone.
Got to get the order in as fast as possible.
Well, I remember, what a cluster that was, because,
right?
Because they were rejecting payments for some reason. Whoever was processing their payments, it's just like, I had money in the account.
What do you guys think about this light? What do you guys think about this lighting situation?
Hey, it works. It works.
They were rejecting stuff left and right, and it wasn't until like 1 o'clock in the afternoon that I finally got it through. And I'm like, God, what was?
Yeah,
I don't know what to deal with. People were really thick about that.
Yeah, and remember with the Mavic Pro, how much of a fiasco that launch was.
Oh,
I mean, they couldn't make those things fast enough to the point where you'd order it and you'd be waiting 3 months.
Yeah, people ordered them in October and they weren't getting them until December, and people were not happy. Well, I think that's at the time. After that, what DJI did to rectify that situation, I talked to some people. That's when they built more distribution centers, like in Chicago and New Jersey and Atlanta, to take care of that, so they would have an even distribution when a launch would come.
Yeah, and that was huge. And they use like drone nerds and other people throughout the United States. So that was definitely a big part of it. And I just remember with the Mavic Pro, from a manufacturing standpoint, their quality control was really bad. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like almost every single drone had some sort of issue.
Mm-hmm. Of course, most people couldn't get the drone for 6 months after it was released. They had a fly issue also.
Yes, I remember I had a focus issue where the whole entire right side of my camera was just completely out of focus. And that was one of the big issues that people were experiencing.
Well, Billy, one of the things that I wanted to ask you too, and I found this real interesting, was we probably remember, it was probably like, I'm going to say a couple of years ago. I'm not exactly sure when, but somebody got and I think it was probably the first Mini when it came out. Somebody got it ahead of time at Best Buy, and I think I even had him on the show, put it out there. But of course, there's no firmware, no app, it won't update, nothing like that. And then now, when you go out for a release, and I find this real interesting, okay, it's always available on DJI's store. But you go on to like places like Best Buy or Adorama or B&H Photo, and it'll say pre-order. And I think what happened, and this is just me, because I went a day early to try to get my Mini, and because it said it was available. And I walked up to the counter at Best Buy, and the manager came to me at the store, and he told me, he said, I can't sell you that drone today. Tomorrow you come in, I can do that. So, the manufacturer, if we sell that drone to you, they'll find out about it. And he said they won't give us that opportunity to sell the drone anymore.
It's true.
I think what's happened is DJI has said, okay, we're going to be the mothership. We're going to go ahead whenever there's a release. You're going to have to buy off of us first, and then we'll get it out to, Adorama, B&H, Amazon, and Best Buy afterwards, because we want you guys to buy off of us. That makes a whole lot of sense.
I agree. And, you're not seeing many leaks as of recent from Best Buy. Like, you're not seeing like people going in and buying it the day before, for example, or you're not seeing pictures from like back of house area from a Best Buy. Like, a lot of these leaks seem to be coming from overseas during the testing period, right? So it seems like DJI has done a good job at curbing the leaks coming from, everyday consumers. But I think the next thing that they need to do is understand how to curb their own employees while they're testing the drone from leaking photos and leaking images.
Yeah. Well, and I got to say this, like Autel, all right? I firmly believe that a lot of stuff that he puts out there gets out there with DJI's blessing. Okay.
Yes.
Let's just put it to you that way, because more often than not, and Ron and Marcus and I have talked about this, more often than not, especially I think it was last year, Ron said, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 things, he was spot on with everything that came out, I think, in 2022.
Yeah, he and it always seemed like he was on a schedule, right? Like it always seems like there was like a schedule to it. Like he was always like a month-ish out.
Yeah. And now, of course, he has help. Now he has at Deals Drones and Jasper Ellens. But it's funny that month out, Billy. When they post, they all post the same weekend. They all tweet the same. All their leaks come out the same weekend about a month before.
Yep, and that's why I think that you're right. That they're just, DJI is pumping them the information. But here's another thing that's interesting that they've done for the past 2 releases, right? The Mavic 3 and the Inspire 3. They've shown us what it looks like the day before, basically. I mean, the Inspire 3, the day before the launch, they posted a full-on graphic of it, like the teaser. And the teaser of the Mavic 3 Pro was the camera, So they've become shameless on their own.
Well, one of the other things that I heard, too, is, one of the ways you could tell that a drone was coming out was going to the FCC database, because it would be on there, okay? Well, now, and I think our good friend Lauren from up north told us that they're not going to do that anymore. They're going to do like they did with the Spark. And I remember the Spark release. What they did was they didn't announce it till that day, till it released that day. And that they're going to do the same right now, because that way no information gets out ahead of time.
It's, here's the thing is I think that in the smartphone world, competition is so fierce. And that's why you have such strict embargoes, and it's crazy when there's a leak, and there's all this stuff, right? But I mean, who's copying DJI in the drone space? I mean, who is going to jump on an opportunity when there's leaks even a couple of months away? I mean, like they could leak something that's 3 months away, and DJI would be totally fine because nobody's going to jump on and copy it.
Right.
I heard him. Bill Grace, what did Bill Grace say there? Interchangeable cameras.
Yeah, I've heard about this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
I've heard about this.
Well, I mean, Autel has tried that in the past, Billy. When the Evo 2 series of drones came out, they promised interchangeable cameras that never showed up. Yeah,
and I mean, I do remember that, but you're promising an interchangeable camera between 2 very similar camera systems. I mean, if you're going to do interchangeable cameras, you should do very different camera systems, right? Like, I mean, at least there's a difference between the classic and the Pro camera on the Mavic 3, for example. But even that, I think, isn't that big of a difference. I mean, I almost wish they came out with specialized payloads. Like when you put this camera on your drone, it is only a 3x zoom. You know what I mean? Like make it that specialized.
Yeah. I remember the Mavic 2 Pro series, people would buy it, whether they have a lot of people bought the zoom, but then they bought just the camera for the Mavic 2 Pro. And even though you're not supposed to use or do it, they figured out how to do it themselves. And some people switch the camera back and forth, depending if they wanted to zoom or they wanted like one in center. I forget who that was. It's somebody in our community.
Ken did. I think Ken did it.
Yeah, there were people that said they could switch that camera in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and they would do it just depending on what they wanted to shoot that day.
See, that's a good difference, though. You have the better camera with 1-inch sensor, gives you a much better image, or you could go with the one that zooms.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. True.
Good point.
Yeah.
So Bill bought the Mavic 3 Pro. Marcus, did you?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Of course.
Ron, I know you're holding out.
Yeah. Well, what I did is that day. Guess what I ordered that day? I ordered the Nano. I mean, not the Nano. I ordered the Avata instead.
Oh, nice.
I did both.
I got the Explorer kit with the new goggles and everything, because the big news that day also was not just the Mavic 3 Pro, but finally, after years of waiting, goggle compatibility with the camera drones. I know you made a couple of videos on that already. Do you think that's going to be a big deal, or just kind of a little fad?
Look, I think it's going to be a big deal if they can give us the opportunity to use it without the freaking motion controller.
Oh, right.
Because the motion controller is a ton of fun to use on the Avata and a ton of fun to use on the FPV drone. And yeah, it's cool to use on like the Mini 3 or the Mavic 3, whichever you end up flying it with. But I just feel like being able to throw the goggles Integra on and fly with a regular controller would be amazing, because we're getting into the time now, summer, it's going to be super bright.
Hard to see, in the middle of the day.
So being able to throw goggles on would really decrease eye strain. I mean, of course, the RC Pro and a lot of these controllers have a super bright screen that's easy to use and easy to work with and easy to see, but you don't forget that, you know, you're squinting the whole entire time while looking at it.
Not as easy as having the goggles on your head. Billy, you have all 3 goggles. You have the V2s, the Goggle 2s, and the Integra. Have you picked a favorite among those 3?
Integra by far. I'm always somebody that would prefer to have something that's like a little bit more portable if you're losing a little bit of functionality. I mean, for what you lose between Goggles 2 and Goggles Integra, I just think it's so worth it to go with the Integra. And they're cheaper too. They're less expensive.
True.
You know, you brought up the controllers, and that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. And Ron and Marcus and I, you know, talked about this a little bit as well too. Is do you think and foresee a day when all that DJI is going to offer is like a DJI RC with a screen instead of just like the old standard controller?
So basically making the RC the stock controller instead of the RC N1.
Right.
So I could almost see them, instead of going that route, I could see them coming out with a stock controller that has like a little OLED screen on it. So maybe they wouldn't go to like the full screen, but I always thought, I mean, I don't have an RC N1 on me, but right at the bottom where they had like the DJI logo at, I felt like they could fit like a little strip. It doesn't need to be big. I just need something for telemetry on there. You know,
you want to bring the Mavic 2 Pro controller back. Remember
the Mavic Pro, the original Mavic Pro. Yeah. I agree. I love that.
Yeah, I vividly remember one time, it was like the second time I ever met Ken Dono. I went down to Florida and was flying with him, and I lost signal with my Mavic 2 Pro. Like the video feed cut out from the drone to my iPhone at the time, and I just flew back to myself using the telemetry. I was like, okay, yeah, let me angle myself, and if my distance is going down, I know I'm flying back to myself.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was always really nice to have. And I still even wish on the RC Pro, they'd give us a little dedicated telemetry strip, like right there in between, you know, the power and the home button. Give us a little thing for dedicated telemetry on there, because you can lose the video feed and you're SOL.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That happened to me one time, Billy, with the Autel Evo 2 Pro. Like, even though that has, you know, I lost my FPV feed from my phone or whatever, but, you know, I had all the telemetry on the screen of the Autel controller. And I, you know, but with that telemetry, I just flew myself right back to me, even though I didn't know where the drone was when I lost my FPV feed.
Well, that happened to me with the Hubsan Zeno 2 Plus one time as
well. You don't say.
The Marcus point, even Hubsan drones have those screens built on their controllers.
I know. I mean, I think that a little strip would be so helpful, like so helpful. You know, what's funny is I still have, I have a couple of RC N1s sitting on the shelf, and I went to go grab one because I needed one for my Air 2S today. I was flying the Air 2S. So I grabbed the RC N1, threw it inside of my bag and left. And when I went to go turn it on, it was the original RC N1 that came out with the Mavic Air 2 that has the white LEDs instead of the green LEDs.
Oh, wow.
And it totally threw me off. I was like, what is wrong with my remote?
Cool. So, Billy, what do you think? I mean, you know, and we constantly talk about this, and that's, I think, probably the second most asked question is, what else do you think DJI is going to come out with this year? I mean, you know, it's just been a whirlwind the past couple of years with releases, and I'm like, okay, what else are they going to come out with? You know, it's like people, you know, that's one of the other questions that I know I get asked a lot about.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to gauge kind of like what people are asking for, you know, the most, and also what hasn't been updated recently. So I know that with the Inspire 2, I think that what really gave DJI kind of a kick in the ass to make the Inspire 3 was Air Peak. Like, they saw Air Peak, they saw a little bit of competition in the space, and they wanted to squash that. So Inspire 3 was born. Now, Air Peak hasn't been around for all that long, which leads me to believe that DJI can crank out something pretty quickly in terms of engineering it, designing it, and whatnot. So I think that if we look at what's coming, I think Pocket 3 is in need of an update. Pocket 2 is in need of an update with a Pocket 3. I think the Air series is also in need of an update. And I think that what is it? The FPV drone, the original FPV drone, right?
I think there will be a second FPV drone.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I you know, it's hard to tell exactly what they're going to do in the FPV space. You know, I wonder if they go the route of kind of introducing their three drone lineup, whether it's FPV drone at the top and then Avata in the middle, and then like an FPV Mini at the bottom, right? I mean, I think they need that 3 drone lineup. So I wonder if they're going to go the route of trying to flesh out their drone lineup first and say, here's the 3 options, and then go the route of upgrading each one kind of as they go down the line. Or are they going to go the route of, getting the technology better to a point where, it's able to trickle down? Because I wonder if they could even make an effective FPV Mini at this point. Do you know what I mean? Or do they even say
affordably make an FPV Mini is the key word?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. That, or could the Avata be our beginner drone, right? And then we have FPV drone in the middle. And is there something that we don't even know about that goes on that top
better
end?
One, high end, yeah.
Yeah, that's made of carbon fiber or whatever it might be. But I think that the FPV drone is due for something new, primarily because it's their first one, and like they were testing out a lot of technology on that drone. So I think that updating it could do them really well. But also, none of the new peripherals or anything are compatible with it. Like RC Motion 2, not compatible. Goggles 2, not compatible. So it just feels like very old from that sense.
That's why I asked if they're going to make another one. It feels like they've kind of left it behind at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the reasons they could have left it behind is because they might have another one in the works. Whether that be FPV Drone 2 or something that's brand new that replaces it basically.
Yeah, we talked about this on a lot of shows, Billy, and you were there too at the Florida Drone Meetup. I mean, did you notice the Avata was the drone? I mean, that drone dominated what you saw at that meetup.
Hell, we were tripping over them.
I know. I mean, I look at the Avata and I think that that's the first FPV drone they should have released. I think that should have come out first, and then FPV drone, whatever. Yeah. But also, I wonder if the Avata came out first, would it have been as good? Because I think that DJI learned a lot from the FPV drone 1 to make the Avata. Yeah. But like I just look at it, and while the Avata doesn't have as much power and isn't as fast, I think it overall has a stronger signal. I think that it's more resilient. You can crash it, pick it up, and just keep flying. Yeah. There's a lot to love about that little drone, to the point where I fly it more than my FPV drone. I've got 9 batteries for it. I love flying that thing.
Did you think the Avata was going to be the hit that it has become? You did?
No, I really didn't, because I thought that like within the FPV drone class, Cinewhoops were like super niche. You know what I mean? Yeah. But DJI has really popularized the design. And I think that like once you look at it and you see that it's more durable, and then you watch a couple of videos and you understand that like, hey, this thing is a lot more resilient, people will go with that all day long. Because I, for one, don't want to have to fly a drone that I have to baby and worry about breaking and destroying, which was the FPV drone.
Right. And the difference between the two drones is when you see people, of course, flying the FPV drone, or they call it the potato, they're flying real high. But most people you see flying the Avata are flying at 10 feet or lower to the ground. It doesn't. Most people don't fly that high.
Yep. And I think that's where it excels, because when you try to get it out and you try to get it high in the sky and start ripping, that's when you face a lot of wind and it slows down. So I think that down low to the ground, tight spaces is really where that drone excels. And again, the motion controller is a lot of fun because you can be a little bit more daring, crash it, flip it over, keep flying,
And the two seems to be a nice upgrade with the motion series, with that joystick and some of the other custom wheel on the side.
Well, real quick, but before you go, Marcus, I mean, I didn't understand why they released that version of the Motion 2 with all those controls. And I was like, all right, it makes sense, right? Like they're just updating it. But now once they've made it compatible with Mini 3 Pro and Mavic 3, now it makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I'm going to go a little bit different direction. I had my first flight with the Avata today, and I had kind of mixed results. First time I'd ever flown with goggles or with but that aside, it made me think about exactly what you guys were just talking about. Hey, where this drone is happy is lower to the ground.
Yeah.
Why the F does it need remote ID? I mean, it's just stupid. It's just stupid. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have the goggles too, or Integra?
Integra is the ones that I ordered. Yeah.
I talked them all into getting Explorer combo, Billy, because it was cheaper and Yeah.
Well, imagine if you had to plug in your phone before every flight. You'd be hating it even more.
And you had that pocket, and you had that battery on the cord stick in your pocket as you were flying every single time.
Yeah.
And Billy, you discovered that if you do need to charge the Integra, you could plug a USB power bank into it and keep going, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that you're able to. I mean, I know that like that's kind of bringing you back to square one, where like you've got the battery dangling off, you know?
Yeah, but that's only after about your 7th or 8th flight that you have to do that.
Ron, Bill just told us he's got 9 batteries for that thing.
He has 2 goggles in Tegra. He just switches to the fully charged one halfway through that load.
With the way that I fly, they go pretty quick.
How much flight time are you getting on an Avata battery?
Like 7-10 minutes, if that. You know, I'll bring if I'm near myself and I'm even at 40%, I'll just land it real quick, throw another battery in, and go. You know, like now, like with these drones, like they limit your power so quickly. I mean, I remember with my Mavic 2 Pro, I lost it over the water. I drained it down to 0%, and even on 0%, I was able to fly that drone full speed, max power. But now they like limit your power. They slow down the drone, so it's difficult.
Good point.
Interesting.
Well, I want to thank everybody for stopping by, and especially Billy. Thank you so much. Hey,
I'm so sorry for being late. It just
no worries.
Time is
when you come down to see Ken, okay, we'll go out to dinner. You're buying, okay? That's all.
Good, perfect.
We'll just make sure
dinner's on me.
Dinner's on Billy when he comes down our way. So, but no, seriously, thank you so much. We really enjoyed it. We'll get you on again sooner. It's been way too long. I know you're crazy busy, but well, in a few months, we'll revisit this thing and see how things are going here. It's always a pleasure, and I know I speak for Ron and Marcus, but I'll let them finish up too. Guys, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just always fun being on the show, and thank you for all the knowledge that you throw at us, Billy. It's always good, and I'll be probably bugging you more to learn how to fly that drone thing. I struggled today.
Do it. Yeah. And look, thank you guys for having me on. I mean, I can't wait to hear what you guys think once you get the Mavic 3 Pro and once this gets out there in the wild.
One more thing, Billy, I'm going to hit you up to come on the Drone Seekers European show on Sunday afternoon, one of these days too.
Yeah, let me know. Even this Sunday, it should be free if you want to. What time is it at?
It would be 3 p.m. your time on Sunday.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Let me talk to you.
Do you have anything for Billy?
I just want to thank Billy for joining us tonight and everybody in the chat that popped in tonight. That we had a great discussion on Mavic 3 Pro and other drones. And when Billy does get that Inspire with the full frame 8K sensor, I want him to come down and get some shots of Lucy with it.
Yes, it's going to be so
8K full frame drone video of Lucy ever.
It's going to be so hard to want to use anything else.
Maybe we could talk the CEO and letting us fly the Avata indoors too.
How cool would that be?
Up. Yeah, you got the outdoor and the indoor.
Yeah.
Has Ken Heron done that before, Ron?
Pardon?
Nothing. Ken Heron did that, didn't he?
Yeah, but we're going to do it better.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you see his video on the boardwalk?
Oh my God!
And he told me he did buy you a slice of pizza down at Preps.
Yes. Yeah, we passed by Preps. They were open, but it was so funny. He flew into the store.
Yeah.
I was like, "Yo, Ken, someone's coming out. Or someone's walking in. You better move."
But the people working the store didn't go crazy. They just kind of stood there and watched it. That was the
cool thing. It's off season down the Jersey Shore. Like anything happens during that time.
You got lucky that day. You picked the best day of the month to go down.
It was beautiful out, really. Yeah.
You were hot at the end when you got done. The Surreys, people don't know that Surrey Billy pedal. They're heavy.
Yeah, they're heavy, especially when you're carrying a guy around that's flying an FPV drone.
And they're meant for 4 people to pedal, not just 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just grateful you avoided the kiss.
It's so funny because I heard him setting that up and I was like, I know what he's gonna do. I was like, I should just run away before he even turns around and just be gone.
Where's Billy?
Well, thanks everybody once again, Billy. Thank you so much. We'll get you back on again this year, I promise.
Yeah, sweet.
As always, guys, great day to fly. Take care, everybody.